That's a good sized pumpkin right there. But this pumpkin right here is nowhere near the size of some of my biggest pumpkins, like this one right here. Oh boy, you guys, it's gonna be a big day on the farm. How are my large white farm dogs? Are you guys excited for this? Hey, Toby dog. Hey, Abby dog. What's going on? Hi, you guys. Hi. Good to see you. Hi. Okay, we got a lot of work to do. Let's go. Yeah, it's a frosty 28 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. Nice and chilly. And it's gonna be a very big day today. We're going to harvest our giant pumpkins, which are right inside here. Here they are. As you can see, all the pumpkin vines are dead at this point. And so there is little to no point in letting these pumpkins continue to grow. And so this morning, I'm gonna have to bring the tractor in here and start pulling these pumpkins out, because I'm actually gonna have to start moving my birds into their winter home, which is actually this greenhouse. We keep ducks and geese and chickens, and because we're in a cold climate like Vermont, I find that the best way to keep them is by keeping them in a nice greenhouse like this. It keeps them nice and toasty, and they compost on the ground, and then I can grow stuff in here that I typically feed them. I will be feeding them most of the pumpkins that I've grown in here this year, but the biggest one that I have, and we'll figure out which one is the biggest by the end of this video, that pumpkin is gonna go on to be used for the giant pumpkin growing competition. There was a farmer had a goat, and Bingo was her name, O-B-I-N-G-O, and her sister Bluey, B-I-N-G-O, and her sister Bluey. Come on out, girls. Does anyone care to nibble on this little pumpkin that I have? Abby, I don't even think you're gonna like this little pumpkin that I have. This is a much more goat-friendly treat. Who wants to try it? Who wants to try it? Barney? Telemachus? No? Abby, you continue to be the only animal that wants to nibble, so I guess you can have it. If the goats don't eat that pumpkin, I'm pretty sure the chickens will. So last fall, my buddy Alfred, you guys know my buddy Alfred, right?
My buddy Alfred, he lives on down the road. He's a wizard with machines, a genius in blue jeans. Let's stop and say hello. My buddy Alfred, Vermont's best so-and-so. Bricklaying engineer, surgeon, driving heavy gear. Ain't nothing he don't know.
Well, last fall, my buddy Alfred went to the fair with his kids, and he noticed at the fair that they had a giant pumpkin growing competition there. And my buddy Alfred, intrigued by this, decided that yes, he too wanted to try to grow some giant pumpkins. And one morning last fall over coffee, he and I were chatting about it, and I said, that sounds kind of interesting. You know, each year I always grow a bunch of pumpkins for my cattle and chickens and geese and ducks. Rather than growing the traditional varieties that I grow, wouldn't it be kind of fun if I ended up growing some giant pumpkins too? And I feel kind of like the moment that I told Alfred that that was something that interested in me, he and his competitive nature sort of sparked into action. And we very quickly made a gentleman's bet where if Alfred grew the largest pumpkin, I was gonna have to put a plaque in his honor and name my barn after him. And if I grew a bigger pumpkin, Alfred was gonna have to take this new boat he was getting, and I was gonna be able to name it anything I would like. And so that was the start of this giant pumpkin growing competition. But it really didn't just stop right there. It actually carried forward because some of our friends and other folks in town here heard about this, and they wanted to get in on the action too. And so eventually it got organized as a big town-wide event, and the date was set for October 18th, and we'd be all getting together and compare who grew the biggest pumpkin. I mean, it was a discussion item for our town meeting on town meeting day back in March. Our local newspaper wrote about the competition last spring, and I have been very faithfully and carefully taking care of pumpkin seedlings ever since. Good morning, Elvis Presley. How are you doing, buddy? Are you adjusting to life without your mom? So yeah, the herd has adjusted to the reduction of numbers. So as you guys saw in a recent video, we sold off 5 of our Charolais cattle, with Elvis Presley here being the last on our farm who is Charolais. He's actually half Scottish Highland, half Charolais. But his mother Astrid, who is my biggest cow, has left the farm, and he's gonna stay here and grow up on the farm. But he is adjusting to not having his mama anymore. And I thought he'd be bellowing and louder, but he's actually been pretty chill about it all. You know, in just a couple of weeks when I bring all the cattle in for winter, I will separate the calves out, and that'll be when I wean them off of the moms. But Elvis got weaned a few weeks early. But one of the things you'll also notice is Elvis is significantly bigger than all of my other calves. Even though he's my second youngest, I think, he is much, much larger than everybody else. Like, for example, our unnamed bee girl, who's actually Ariel's calf, and she still needs a name, which there's going to be a contest for that later this year. She is much smaller, even though she's like easily a month or two older. And there's 2 factors that are giving him that size. First off, he was a bull calf. But then second, he is a Charolais, and those Charolais genetics are significantly bigger. You know, when I was selling my cattle, my buddy Ben, who bought them, he actually weighed them. And Astrid, who was his mom, who was my biggest, she came in over 1,500 pounds. Most of my other girls, like most of my other cows, aren't even over probably 1,200 pounds. Probably most of them are between 1,000 and 1,100. So like girls like Audrey, my boss cow, or Annabelle right here, like like Annabelle's probably just under 1,200 pounds. Some of my younger cows, like Bonnie McMurray, who's actually my youngest cow, she is probably just over 1,000 pounds. And here we have Buttercup, who was our first calf of this year, and she is still significantly smaller than Elvis Presley. I wish I could get them side by side to show you. But I think the only way I'm gonna be able to do that is by moving the cattle. And excuse me, Cyndi Lauper, I don't appreciate you scratching up against my fence post. That's how these posts break, you know? Like, I turn off this electric fence when I come in here, so it's easier to move the fencing lines for everybody. But I feel like the moment I do that, the calves see that as the opportunity to like try to break the fence posts. It's kind of ridiculous. Hey, cows, come on, cows, fresh grass, come on. Hey, cows, come on, cows, fresh grass, come on. I know, Elvis, I know. It's really hard. Hey, cows, come on, girls, let's go. Chop, come on. Move it or lose it, ladies. Come on. Fresh grass, come on. So this is like the last of the grass in the back far corner of the farm. We're definitely getting towards the end of grazing season. And this is actually the last of the totally eatable grass that they have, and even this is pretty low and short. They were last in this space 56 days ago, so it's a little bit shorter than I typically like, but it's not too bad. There is still plenty of grass for them to munch around here. Hey, Buttercup, you want to say hi? No? Okay. You can see as the cattle get put into a fresh paddock like this, they're always kind of scooping around, seeing what sort of good things there are to eat. Some stands of weeds and other junk here too, but overall, they're looking good. Wouldn't you say so, Buttercup? So the next bovine to leave the farm is gonna be our steer, Joey Ramone. Yeah, Joey, I'm talking about you. Of course, I feel wildly uncomfortable about having this conversation directly in front of him, so I'm gonna walk away for a little bit. Yeah, so Joey, who is that steer back there, he's, 3 years old, and he is going to be processed for beef. That has always been his purpose on the farm. That's kind of what his fate was always gonna be. And so that will be happening in a few weeks. I had been struggling to find a butcher, or a slaughterhouse, I should say, who would take him and process him because of the horns. And so what I've actually ended up doing is we're going to be doing an on-farm slaughter instead, which in a lot of ways is way less stressful for the animal and way more humane. The only real drawback to it is the fact that I won't be able to sell the meat like in a traditional way, like I did with Kurt Cobain, where I was selling like retail cuts. And instead I've got to sell in like halves and whole cattle. And so I've already found a buyer for it. So I know folks are wondering, it won't be available. But yes, Joey Ramone's time is getting short. Oh, wow. Actually, I'm just realizing where I'm standing right now. So earlier this summer, you guys might recall, my nephew and I did some treasure hunting and excavating back here.
If we find that, we might be rich. but we don't need that. We need each other to keep each other company.
Oh, wow, we actually did find something. Holy crap. There's definitely something right there. Hold on.
Start digging right here.
We found an old horseshoe and then some scrap metal. I've done a few more passes with a metal detector and have not found anything. There's a possibility at some point I might just try to dig in here and see if I unearth anything. I checked in on some historical records in terms of deeds and with our historical society. And pretty much, at least since the founding of Peacham back in the 1700s, this has always just been either forest or field. And so there's like no real evidence of like this used to be like a, you know, say like a blacksmith shop or anything like that. I know people threw out a bunch of different ideas. The horseshoe, though, it has been confirmed for me by a couple of people. That horseshoe is definitely for like a draft horse, which makes a lot of sense. Not like they were doing a lot of thoroughbred racing out in these parts. But yeah, I still don't know the origins. And I don't know, maybe if I find somebody more skilled in excavation or metal detecting, that might be the thing that really motivates me to try to dig something up. And so, I don't know, feel free to pass this video or that video along to somebody you think who might know a thing or two about looking into old historical sites like that. I knew it was only a matter of time before we'd be dealing with some of this. So I've started to set out the hay bales for the cattle because I know as they get down here, I'm gonna need to supplement their feed. And it's still too early for me to want to bring them in for the winter into their winter yard. And so, yeah, I started setting out these hay bales. And of course, my little calves would get into it. I've also noticed that Highland cattle in general love to play with their food and bash open hay bales like this. But calves in particular just seem to take a certain joy in pushing all this hay around. Poor little Curly Sue, she hasn't figured out how to get around the side like her brothers and sisters. You can see, got actually most of our calves there. Oh, that's the unnamed bee girl. She's just got some over there. Most of them, so you can see Elvis in the back, Meatloaf, Buttercup, Cyndi Lauper, Sly, they're all there. And then sadly, Curly Sue is kind of left out. It's okay that they're doing this. I expected them to do this. What'll happen here is the parents, probably tomorrow, are gonna be moving down this row into this space here. And there's, you know, a couple bales, and then I've got bales scattered all throughout here. And so along with the remaining grass that we have out here, that hay is gonna help keep them fed until Halloween. All right, well, let's go check in on a couple other cattle. So here we have Belle and Betty Rubble, who's now the only Betty on our farm. Hey, Betty, how's it going? Betty is just a very, very sweet heifer. Right now, I'm very conflicted about these two. Part of me wants to keep them. Part of me thinks it's probably best to sell them. I don't know. So they are the siblings of those calves there. They are, you know, actually for Belle, the unnamed bee girl is her full sister. Same mom, same dad. Annabelle is actually Betty Rubble's mama. And I don't know, I can't breed them with Macho Man because they're his daughters, but I kind of would like to think about maybe doing AI with them, but then I'm also not really set up to do AI, and that seems like it could be really stressful. And so, I don't know, I'm having trouble deciding. I might sell them to a good home. I might keep them. We'll see. What do you say there, Bill? Do you want to stay or do you want to go? Tell me your Joe Strummer answer. You're not as friendly as your sister, but you're pretty sweet. Oh, yeah. So you get spooked the second you touch me. I bet you I could probably start brushing Betty soon. I should bring a brush with me and start testing that out. She's pretty comfortable with me. Oh, yeah, you almost got my finger up my nose. You're so comfortable. Heifer boogies, ew. Aw, look who's hanging out with her goats. It's the goat boss. It's okay, goats. You can eat that hay. I'm not mad at you. And Abby, you were doing a very good job being a goat boss. And Toby, you're always doing a good job of just being the boss. I'm seeing the boys right here, but where are Bluey and Bingo? Bluey, Bingo, where'd you go? Yeah, the goats have been excavating through here on this side. Hey, Bluey, where's Bingo? Yeah, you guys are helping clear out this stuff? Yeah, there's all sorts of good weeds to munch on right up here. I know. Where's Bingo? Oh no. How did you do that? Bingo? Bingo, you sneak. How did you get in here? How did you do that? She must have slipped in through the side because she's so tiny and skinny. She's getting all the good grasses, huh? Well, I guess there's no harm in you doing that right now. So yeah, we do have to start pulling out the pumpkins though. This is a good sized pumpkin right here. Like this isn't even one of the biggest. Let's see. I can't quite pick it up myself, but it's like movable. I could easily roll it out of here. But this pumpkin right here is nowhere near the size of some of my biggest pumpkins, like this one right here. And this one, yeah, I could probably maybe budget, but I'm not gonna be able to lift it. So I'm gonna need to get the tractor to be able to move these pumpkins. All right, come on, Bingo, come with me. I don't think it's very good for you to be in here. Why don't you go back to Bluey? Come on. Come on. I'll let you come in here later today, I promise. Come on, girls, I'll let you munch some weeds outside. Come on, out with the Bingo, out with the Bluey. One of the most soothing things in the world is to watch them munch on weeds. I can just like sit out here for hours watching this. But alas, I can't because I have real work I should be doing right now. Well, here we've got our first contender. I noticed as I was loading it up, some sort of critter has been clearly eating at this. I don't know if that's a chicken or a rodent, but if I'm actually looking at the tooth marks and the size of the tooth marks, that could very well be a goat. And that actually explains what I just saw a couple minutes ago where Bingo was sneaking in here. I could easily see her sneaking in here and getting a taste over the last couple of days. And I guess I should just be thankful that none of my major pumpkins got eaten, even though a snack was clearly had. While this pumpkin isn't the biggest pumpkin, I am gonna pop it open and try to save some of the seeds because they look pretty darn good. And that'll actually help ensure that I can grow giant pumpkins in the future because I feel like I've learned a lot when it comes to growing the giant pumpkins. Like for starters, I would never do it in a greenhouse again. And if I grow giant pumpkins in the future, they will be grown outdoors. I think number two, putting a focus on getting them out there earlier than I did would have also helped. And then number three, figuring out a way to just constantly be able to manage the vines. That was the hardest part as they got bigger because the vines spread so much that it became hard to go in there and tend to the pumpkins without hurting the pumpkins. And so I think next time I try to grow a giant pumpkin, I will like try to trellis the vines so that it's easier to walk around. So yes, those are all lessons learned. But I am pleased. I mean, I probably have about 15 pumpkins in there of normal size that I will feed to my animals. So like, for example, this one is bigger than normal size, but that's definitely gonna be animal food. Usually the pumpkins that I've grown in here have traditionally been actually that size, but I'm sure the chickens and the geese will like to eat it. Here's another good animal food pumpkin. I've actually been watching this one pumpkin grow from the other side of the hoop coop all summer. And I think I'm gonna try to take it out right now. Let's see if I can do it. Figure out a way to pull this guy out. It's like entangled in all these vines. It grew inside the fence. All right, so I just broke off the stem. Hopefully this won't be too heavy that I can't even lift it. I think I can lift it. Gosh, darn it. Oh, there we go. That's a good sized pumpkin right there. It's actually a pretty nice pumpkin. I mean, probably weighs about 65, 70 pounds. It was hard to pick up from like a bending over position, but it's not too heavy. But this pumpkin right here, which has been the one I've been eyeing all summer, this is definitely my biggest pumpkin. And this is the one I'm gonna hope to win a prize. So what I'm actually gonna do now is pull out the hoses and watering infrastructure and push all the other pumpkins to the side. This will allow me to bring the tractor back here. And I'm gonna just leave all of these other pumpkins in here because the chickens are gonna be moving in here first in just a couple of days. And when they do, they can be the ones to start working on the pumpkins and start eating them before the ducks and geese come in. What do you think, Pablo Barn Cat? This right here is a giant pumpkin. I mean, Pablo's kind of a giant cat, but I don't think he quite compares to this giant pumpkin. Now I am kind of curious to see how much this pumpkin weighs, and so I'm gonna bust out the measuring tape. You can actually find little calculators that are gonna help you estimate the weight of your pumpkin based on its size. And so let's give it a measure and see what we got. All right, so our side to side measurement is going to be 65 inches. Our top to bottom measurement is going to be 66 inches. I got 99 inches for the circumference. So according to this calculator from New Zealand, my pumpkin's estimated weight is 285 pounds, which is only 2,465 pounds away from the world record. So I guess the world record is pretty much safe for right now. But the real question is, what has my buddy Alfred been growing? So Alfred lives over there. I've got my drone right here.
My buddy Alfred. He's a wizard with machines, a genius in blue jeans. Let's stop and say hello. My buddy Alfred, Vermont's best so-and-so.
I don't know if there's any way I'm ever gonna win this pumpkin growing contest. I mean, look at the size of that thing. It's massive. I am very scared for our pumpkin competition next week.